I'm Rachel. I'm one of the librarians at Baltimore County Public Library. I work at the Essex branch. I really enjoy cooking, and what I wanted to help all of you know is different variations of things that you can do in the kitchen. Unlike baking, cooking savory dishes for dinner gives you a lot of options and variety. And I tend to use a recipe just as a guideline, not as something I have to strictly adhere to. And so I adjust amounts of things according to my family's tastes, and think of it as something that gives you wiggle room for the future. So I'm going to give you a dish today that gives two different variations and is very easy and very nutritious. This is twice baked spaghetti squash. I found this on the internet. We have lots of good books on the library as well that can give you ideas. This one I will show you an Italian version, and later on give you an idea of how you can turn around to make it a bit more Mexican flavored. The first step is to prepare your squash. You need to take a knife, something heavy duty, and cut it lengthwise from the stem to the base. Being careful not to cut yourself in the process. As you see with any other squash, you'll have seeds inside. You do need to remove these. So take a hard spoon out and just put those into the trash. There we are. Put this on your baking pan and you just want to drizzle it with some olive oil. Then it's ready to go in the oven. Set your timer for about 40 minutes. You can do shorter with the small ones. 40 is good for a large one. It's best if you prepare all of your ingredients ahead of time so that when you're mixing them, you won't have to be running around trying to chop things up. So I'm going to dice half of an onion. What's very helpful when chopping an onion is to keep the stem intact. That will hold the end together as you're dicing down the line. I do a medium dice on these to get them to mix in pretty well. And then move on to our garlic. Helpful part about doing garlic cloves is if you take a large knife and you crush it with the flat of your hand, that'll make peeling it a lot easier. Your vegetables are prepared. We're going to begin cooking our sausage dish. Set your burner to medium. I like to put the sausage in first. That way it can start cooking and all the oils that are already in the sausage get released and you don't need to add more for your veggies. We'll break that all up. And we'll add in our onion and the garlic. Love the garlic. And that sausage is going to continue to cook while the onion and garlic are cooking. Always keep an eye on it to make sure you don't burn the garlic or onion. If you need to adjust the temperature accordingly, you can. Just turn it down a little bit. But yeah, that sausage will keep going. And as it does, just make sure you crumble it all up so you get tiny pieces. Eventually, you'll be mixing all of this in with the spaghetti squash, and so you want it to be evenly distributed throughout. Once your sausage is thoroughly browned and you see that the onions and garlic have softened, you'll see that the onions will get a little bit translucent. Then you want to add in your sauce. And I just kind of eyeball this as well. Looks good. Once that's all bubbling away nicely, we're going to add our spinach. do a couple handfuls, probably half a bag here. And then slowly stir that in. It will wilt as it goes along. And decrease in size a whole lot. You can turn your sausage mixture down to low now. Just put a lid on it, and that'll help the spinach to wilt down even further. So we're going to check our squash, see if it's ready. Be very carefully handling it. It is hot. And you take a fork and just scrape away. See how easily it pulls away. It should come up in spaghetti strands. This looks good. All right. So our squash is finished cooking. Let it cool down a while and then do your scraping. When your spinach is wilted, turn it off. You don't want your sauce to burn while you're waiting for your squash to cool. Once it's cool enough to handle, you want to shred your spaghetti squash into the dish. If you need hot pads, you can do that. Or if you're brave enough, do it with your bare hand. Use a fork and shred it in. It'll pull away just like little noodles. And you want to leave a little bit on the side so that the outside will stay intact. You're going to use the skins as your vessel for putting this back in. So we're doing twice baked, so this is going back in the oven afterwards. Now, mix that in there with our dish. At this point, I'm also going to sprinkle in the Parmesan cheese. Do that now because once it's back inside the squash, I want it to have some gooey cheesiness inside, not just on top. Once it's all set, we are going to load it back into the squash halves. And we're just going to sprinkle this evenly between the two. This is another thing where you could put some of it inside as well. The top part will form a very gooey layer over the entire. It'll be gooey, cheesy goodness. There we are. We're going to carefully put this back in the oven without dislodging our cheese. Once 15 minutes has elapsed and your mozzarella is all bubbly, take it out of the oven. And you'll see it's not burned. You don't want it to do it too long, but it's created a nice coating on top and it's got a little bit of browning. And the inside will be all juicy. Just scoop some out. That's the nice part when you just scoop. There you are. You need to let this cool down before you eat it though. That will burn your mouth terribly. So there are other variations for this same recipe. With a few substitutions, you can create an entirely different flavor. One example I'll give you is doing it Mexican style. Instead of using the sausage, use ground beef and put in a little bit of taco seasoning. You're also going to substitute salsa for the spaghetti sauce and maybe a Mexican blend cheese, like a four cheese blend for the mozzarella and Parmesan. So you still follow the same steps. You would just put those in instead. Also, I would recommend putting in some black beans. That will give it a nice flavor as well. You can find any kind of recipes online, but we also have lots of cookbooks at the library. Come into one of the libraries, come to the information desk. We'd be happy to help you find something. if you're looking for a broad topic or a specific recipe. We have lots to offer you at the Baltimore County Public Library.